What's good, y'all? This is Steve Sweatpants here, representing Street Dreams Mag, live from Bed-Stuy, and this is the Unsigned. Let's go. It's your boy.
Yo, Steve, appreciate you being on, man. Glad we can make this happen. Been a fan of yours for a long time. We got a couple of mutual friends. We met a few years back at a speaking event that you did. So glad that we could connect here again, and talk a little bit about photography and music and what you guys are doing at Street Dreams, because you guys have been killing for a long time. And I think you guys are really starting to get more and more into the music. And as we know, music and photography go hand in hand. So appreciate you being here, man.
Thank you for having me. It's kind of crazy how crazy time flies. You said we met at the 34th Street.
Yeah, that was probably what, 3-4 years ago, maybe at this point.
I thought it was 2 years ago. See, I mean,
maybe two, man. No, I could be off with that.
I could definitely be off as well too. But honestly, thanks for having me on. It's really an honor to have platforms like this to talk to, like, yourself and everything that you have going on. And I just think it's really dope to have these honest kind of conversations. So I just appreciate your time as well, dude.
Thank you, man. Thank you. So yeah, want to start at the top here. Something that we've been doing with all the episodes, making sure that we talk about the Black Lives Matter movement at the top, so that way it's on the forefront. Motherfuckers can't skip through this to get to the other shit. They got to listen, which is good. And hopefully we're continuing the conversation. But yeah, man, just kind of wanted to get your pulse of everything that's been going on. I know you've been going out and protesting. You've been covering the protests, doing a lot of journalism stuff behind that. Curious your thoughts. Curious, if you think the changes that we've seen so far will have a long-term impact. Curious. You do a lot of stuff in the brand world. Curious your thoughts on which brands you think have shown up and done a great job. And then lastly, we are big sports fans as well. So curious your thoughts on how you think the Bucks and the NBA have handled everything as of late.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess for starters, it's just been it's been just a really heavy time and a lot to download every single day with something like this. And for as much progression as I think that is being made, this is a lifetime fight that I always like to stress to everyone. White, Black, Asian, Spanish, anybody who is really about something that's progressive, we all need to understand, like, we're going to be doing this for the rest of our lives. And
absolutely,
it is an emotional roller coaster. So there's definitely every time that you feel like you have a couple of days of breathing room, something else really heavy happens. And what happened to Jacob Blake was absolutely disgusting. And then the fact that they even handcuffed this man to his bed is even more mind-boggling on top of that. So it's like and then I think somebody else just got killed like last night in LA by the police again. So
yeah.
It's just like one of those things that as heavy as this information is, and just seeing it all the time and being reminded of, this is a constant fight. We have to just all know, like, this is some shit that we all have to, do forever. And hopefully that, within the next generations passes, the fight will be a little bit easier, but like, this is not going to be easy. And, it's honestly just heartbreaking that, I have to be scared to go outside at a certain time, or my mother has to keep on reminding me, like, be careful of going outside because of, all this madness is going on with the police brutality and just the overall just aggression towards, Black and brown people. So fuck that shit is whack. And hopefully we have to keep on going, dude. Like, I can't stress that enough. We have to really keep on going with that. To the second part of your question was, what brand, I do a lot of brand work, and I've been blessed to be working with brands now for just about 8 years, so close to a decade. I'm 33 now. I started shooting around when I was 25. So compiled up just like, overall a really vast portfolio of people that I've worked with over the years and over the time that I've learned with. There's certain people that I've liked to work with, and I don't work for anyone. I work with people. So I've made sure that the clients and people that I work with can actually understand my vision, and on the same time they can understand my perspective as being a Black man in this time. I think that's a lot. It takes a lot for these companies to really understand and download and actually want to, communicate into their messaging. So I think, it's obviously an easy answer, but I think that Nike has been doing an incredible job of making some of these very timely ad pieces, and all the Nike athletes that are under their umbrella have all been voicing out their, having really strong voices in the Black community and really sticking up for us. And I think that sometimes people get into this whole debate of like, do these athletes' voice matters? Like, they're making so much money and like, X, Y, and Z. I think people need to understand that even if it feels minuscule for us, that it's really important to not try to look at other things outside of your perspective. It's a big deal when the basketball players are protesting and don't play for 3 games. It's a big deal when I mispronounce her name, but the tennis player that's half black and Japanese. It's a big deal when she makes a statement and decides not to play and wears a Breonna Taylor mask the next day. All of these things are in the scope of time because everything is so fast and people are regurgitating information. In the scale of time, when you look back at it, this shit matters. And it means not only it affects some of these people's pockets, but it really gets some of these old white folks to really pay attention and to have to keep these conversations going. So as uncomfortable as it is for everyone, we have to continue making people feel uncomfortable. Sorry for mudging it up a little bit, but we have to continue making them feel uncomfortable because, there's people out here fucking dying. You're getting shot in the back. And you mean to tell me that you feel uncomfortable with having a larger conversation? It's like, we can definitely get past that. So I know there is a big cognitive bias that's in America right now that I think that is ever so apparent, but we just have to really make an effort to have the conversations with people that are having these progressive kind of thoughts that are going to lead towards something that's going to be a little bit more beneficial for all of us in the future. And then that's why, to even segue into the basketball, that's why I think it's so important that the players decided to play in the first place. You have to use these platforms. These institutions that everybody, quote unquote, hates so much are the same ones that are giving the biggest platforms that we can actually have a voice and use it to dictate the conversations and the narratives. So even if it doesn't seem like it's a big deal if they write Black Lives Matter on the court, if it doesn't make it feel like it's a big deal, if some of them have names on their jersey. All of this in the scope of time means something. So it leaves footprints to know that, not everybody in humanity was just cool with all the shit that's going on. Like, no, there are people that was just disruptive about it. It's no different from what they were doing in the 60s. And you can go back for 400 years of oppression. You know what I mean? There's always been signs of, us showing that, making our voices heard, and they've just evolved into another way. So I think I'm honestly so proud to be a basketball fan in the first place, and to see how they communicated that and having, I'm not saying they do it right all the time, but this is a long battle. So I'm not going to be sitting here busting somebody's balls if they fuck up one day. It's as long as we're all going to be progressive towards the end goal, that's all that matters. And then it's just simple things. Just stop killing Black people. Can you stop shooting us in the back and let us just, do and live our lives? Because, everything else is minuscule in the scope of thing when a father can't just, chill with his kids. You know what I mean? That's stuff that nobody should be cool with that. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, man. Well said. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. Especially on the, on the sports tip, everyone's yeah, well, excuse me, not everyone. A lot of people that I hear, what is this actually going to do? Is it really going to make change? It's it's going to be long change, but this is super impactful. Look at what, to your point, if they didn't come back and play, that time that our society dedicates to that sport would just be sucked up by something else, right? Mm-hmm. And sucked up by something negative, potentially negative, right? Or not as commanding as those personalities are. Russell Westbrook, LeBron James, Chris Paul, all these guys who are at the front lines of this, trying to lead it in the right way, using their platform the best they can. It would be a shame if somebody else stepped up and was doing that. And then it came back around again when it happened with Jacob Blake last week, and then just being nah, we're done, which again was amazing to see them say, no, guys, this isn't done yet. We still have to keep going. Just because we put it on the court and just because we put it on our jersey doesn't mean the shit's over.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad. And then it was, well, what are they going to do after that to make sure that there's sustainable change? And I think now that they're bringing the owners to the table, all the cities in which they live and operate in to the table to have those real discussions, that's where change happens. Right. Not only that, the fucking NBA led the way And then every other sports league stopped playing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because of that, because they were like, oh shit, no, we actually do need to band together. Like, this is crazy. And like,
exactly.
And whether they believed it or it was just the public pressure to do it, they still did it. So like, just like you said, over time, when you go back and look at this, it's going to be like, oh shit, every single sport stopped.
Yeah.
And they had to pay attention to it. So it's making everyone talk about it, everyone focus, everyone question, what are they doing in their lives? Are they leading it in a fair and just way? And that's how sports, that's how athletes can transcend just being a basketball player, just being a baseball player, a football player, a hockey player. It's like, no, we're going to force you to talk about it. And I kind of like that. I was thinking about that. I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but I was thinking about this. I was thinking about this the other day when I was watching the games, the first day back. It's like we play the national anthem before every game. You know what I'm saying? And that was like some propaganda shit, right? Way back in the day when like the government was like, no, you got to do this. And it made sense for that time, right? The world was very, very circular, right? It's not flat like it is today where you can, and I realize I'm using that in the Switch context, but I don't know what that means, right? Like it was so far away that you didn't know what was going on the other side of the world.
Really?
So that made sense. And you're like, hey, bring this unity, democracy. This is how we can bring people together. Let's make sure like, hey, although you're playing baseball, like you're going to represent the flag.
Yeah.
And then I think over time, because we've been doing it for so long that it just became an afterthought. People are just like, cool, like speed this shit up so I can play. The athletes aren't thinking about the fucking national anthem. They're thinking about the people that they're playing against. Their mind is running, right? So it's hard for them to stop and do that. Now, I do think those are appropriate. We need to continue to do that. At the same time, we also need to make sure that we're talking about Black Lives Matter. So it's like, how come, maybe not even how come, like maybe going forward, there's some sort of tribute that needs to play. That's like, hey guys, not even a song, but like a tribute video. That's like, hey guys, this is the new America. And it's where we all work together and we understand that Black lives do matter. We're not saying no one else matters. We're saying right now, the majority of us haven't really been paying attention to this. And this is a very, it's just a very big thing that will have a greater impact on us as a country. It'll make us bigger, stronger, better when we're more inclusive. And so like, hey guys, pay attention to this. Yeah. And so I just had that little thought the other day and I was like, oh shit, man, maybe hopefully something like that comes.
I hope so. Out. I mean, I think it makes sense. I mean, I think there just needs to be more progressive conversations towards how are we actually going to almost like reverse indoctrinate all the people that just been told like just crazy shit for so long. I mean, it's going to be it's going to be a hard job to do, but I think there's a lot of work to do with it. But these the NBA players and all the other athletes that follow suit to do the right thing like that, they really show. It just really show the unison in thought that like all of us are fed up with this shit. You know what I mean? So I think that it's really impactful. It's really important. You can't diminish it if you don't understand it in this perspective of the overall thing. Brands were definitely affected. People were definitely affected. I mean, even just watching the games, I just start to notice. I've always been obsessed with commercials and ads. Like, how many ad placements is on that court? If they didn't play for 3 games, you don't think that, somebody turned around for a bit, like, hey man, like maybe we should just like get on the phone, to figure something out like that. All that stuff matters,
It really does, man. It really does. Well, I appreciate you hopping in and talking about that. Just like you said, tough times, but I think we all need to have the conversation, especially me being a white person within predominantly hip hop culture and music culture. Like I want to use the little bit of privilege that I have to make sure, I want to use my privilege with the little bit of time that I have that I'm soaking up in this space to make sure that I'm talking about the right stuff and highlighting the right people. And again, I appreciate you having the conversation. Yeah, man, want to jump into kind of everything else that we were talking about before, photography, music stuff, and just kind of how these two worlds merge. But let's start right at the top. For those that don't know who you are, you mind just kind of giving the rundown of, how where you're from, how you got into photography, how you guys started Street Dreams, and yeah, all that good stuff.
Yeah. So, born and raised in New York. I was born in East Flatbush, raised in Jamaica, Queens, out in Rosedale. And when I went to high school, like I didn't go to high school for, anything artsy. I went to high school for computer repair. And then the first day of class, I told the teacher told us that it was cheaper to buy a new computer. So I was like, it doesn't even make sense to be here. You know what I mean? We just played Counter-Strike and Yahoo Pool for that last couple of semesters and years. So I've always been like a scrappy kind of dude. Like my pops was an electrician and a contractor. He a black dude with his own business. So, I've always seen successful black people, like seeing my pops, like, and seeing everything that he managed to do with his company and running it for 35 years and stuff like that. So, it was, my perspective has always been to run my own shit. There was, even though I worked for people at the time, like I worked honestly every single job. I worked at McDonald's, Express, Sears, Bloomberg, Fox News, fucking GameStop, custodian, electrical work, dude. I've done so much stuff to know that I don't want to do any of that. And then like the big motivation of it is because I worked with my dad, and my dad really put me onto a lot of that stuff. So when I really kind of stumbled in photography, it was because of music, honestly. At the time I was A&R on some whack ass rapper. God bless his heart. He's not a bad, whatever. But God bless his heart. You know what I mean? But I was managing the situation, and I was trying to help him out, and moved him into the crib, because I was working with one of my acquaintances at the time, who was like a beat producer. He made beats and all that stuff like that. So I was working with him, and we had the idea of like, let's move him into the house. So like, he'd be a little bit closer, and then, we can manage and doing all this stuff. So I started working with him, and he just had a camera on him. He decided to like, oh man, would you mind shooting videos or something like that, or shooting with photos with it? And I had a little experience with cameras because, I grew up with family photos. I've always been obsessed with family photos and like the Polaroid wave and like, going to Walmart and going through the envelopes. But at the same time, like I grew up in New York, so I've always been into like sneakers and gear and stuff like that. So when Hypebeast message board came out in 2007, I was definitely one of the dudes in the chat room and the message boards all the time. It was a bunch of really dope people on the message boards back in the day. All of us is still still cool to this day, like Phil from Madbury Club and like all those other dudes. And it was just a really dope time to be on the internet. So like, you don't want to be posting whack fit pics. So you already had to know, like you had to get on the right camera wave. So that was like 2006, 2007. And I kind of fell off of it. But then when I had the opportunity again with the rapper to, work on like little videos and photos and stuff like that, like, I messed around with it a little bit. So I could do that. I love playing video games. So it's no different from playing Pokemon Snap or something. And, when I started to shoot photos, I really started to get into it, and I really started to notice, like, I actually like really like creating with my own hands. Like, it's like I could work like my dad, but not on his own terms, because I didn't want to be an electrician. That's a hard ass job. But if I could still work as a photographer, hypothetically, I was like, maybe this might be it. And me and the rapper dude fell off because like, those situations always go kind of sour. But when he fell off, like I didn't fall off on photography. Like I really picked it up and like started to link with a lot of like like-minded people that were, mutual in interest and like, mutual in passion. And it really just started to like develop into me meeting a lot of the New York community and stuff like that, like early 2012 and, 2011 and stuff like that. So, me getting on Instagram for the first time, really figuring out the whole Instagram game, or like the early part of the decade, really tapping into the New York community. Like I really felt more comfortable with photography, so that when I was able to finally, like, my first gig was like working with Mass Appeal, which is hilarious. Like it definitely was a free job. And I would definitely done it. I wasn't even mad. I was just so happy that somebody was like, word, like you want me to take photos for y'all? I was like, say no more. So I shot like Dylan Cooper or something like that in like 2012,
Nice.
like something dumb early. It was really, really early. And so that was like one of my first early gigs, and I just like really decided like, I'm gonna really go full head of steam into it. So my last job was working at REI right on Broadway in Lafayette. was like the only black dude selling tents in there. And when they told me like there was time to go, because I was late all the time because I was really good at sales, but I would have like a 3-month attention span. Like after 3 months,
Yeah.
I was over it because I already figured everything out. You know what I mean? So, so my interest went away. I was taking way more photos. You know what I mean? I was linking up with all these different people, and it was like, oh man, like we're gonna fire you basically because you're late all the time. I was like, thank you. I was like, because I wasn't by myself. So around all that same time, like I'm really cool with my barber, and his name is AJ. I always just shout him out to the day I die. AJ was like always like a socialite and really cool with everybody in the city and stuff like that. He's like one of the cool ass Filipino dude who just like was cool with everybody. And he's like, I was getting a little bit of a name for myself on Instagram. Like I only had like 2,000 followers or like 3,000 followers, but like people started to see my work a little bit. And he was like, oh yeah, there's some dudes in Vancouver that called When Did You Work, and like, they want to meet you. And I was like, all right, cool, whatever. You know what I mean? Like we always hanging around, we don't, it's still like that in Brooklyn, but we all still hang out with each other pretty much every other day or something like that. So I remember I went to one of his parties, and there was a dude in the spot wearing like these Japanese shoes, Visvums, and I commented on the shoes like, oh, those are pretty dope. And he's like, oh man, thanks, appreciate it. And I walked into the spot, get my drink and settle in. And then when AJ said like, oh, let me introduce you to the guy, it was the same dude I complimented his shoes. So his name is Eric. And when we linked up and, we really started, shooting the shit and everything, and we just realized that like, we're really cool and there was more things to talk about. He never really he's been to the city a couple of times, but he never really been to the city with a New Yorker. So he was like, oh, I'll take you out to shoot or something like that the next day. That's when all of us were linking up with each other to shoot. It's like how graffiti crews were linking up to shoot with everybody back in the day.
Yeah.
Me and Eric linked up and we came up with this whole idea of like the Street Dreams magazine concept. Him and I'll call him Uncle Mike C. Him and Mike C developed a Tumblr page at the time that was like this loose kind of based concept of what they thought what Street Dreams would have been at the time. But while I was doing in New York the whole time, I was like linking up with all these different photographers and like painters and like all this other stuff. I've met a lot of dope people as well too. So the original concept was going to be like Eric and myself's photos, but I told them like, let's actually put all these other dope people that I've been linking up with that have been teaching me how to like to edit and like also like different parts of the city and all this other like crazy stuff. So the first issue is like conceptualized with a lot of our like still to this day one people, and every issue from this point out is pretty much like we look at it like a family time capsule of contemporary photographers that never really had a chance to display their work or had a chance to showcase something because we weren't getting our work published that easily in all the other competing magazines. So we was like, fuck all of that. Like, let's create our own platform. And in creating that platform, we noticed that we had a way better relationship with these photographers and graphic designers and videographers than these other agencies and other companies. So we developed Street Dreams Visual Agency around the same time while we were developing a lot of the magazines. So it turned into a big ecosystem of a bunch of like 3 photographers, but me and Eric are photographers and Mike C is an art director by trade. So, all 3 of us have like been making like our passion project turn into a way that we can monetize it as much as possible to do the shit that we want to do. And then nobody really can tell us what to do at the same time.
Oh yeah. No, that's amazing, man. Like you guys have, and since then, like you said, you guys have been able to do a ton of amazing shit. And with kind of the agency that you guys have developed, you've been able to work with the biggest companies in the world: Apple, Nike, the NBA, Sony, Red Bull, so many more. But I got a question for you. Out of all of those up to this point, what's been the most impactful campaign that you've been a part of?
Damn, it's a good question because
I know we all have our favorites, but that's why I kind of go with like we have the favorite, but also like most impactful. Maybe there's one that's not the same.
There, I'll give you one because I think that I can't get it out of my head. So this might be the one. But we did this really dope project in collaboration with Team Epiphany and HBO for this HBO documentary called Class Divide. And it was about the classism that was going on around the Chelsea projects in the schools that were being developed over there, like all those really dope fancy schools, and how the fact that they were directly across the street from the projects. So the whole documentary really shed light on a lot of the different stories and the narrative that is being, you know, that's wrapping around this whole kind of this whole Chelsea area, and the fact that the High Line is really like the key in the whole thing. And the High Line is like one of those, it's like the bittersweet things where it is a beautiful establishment. I've loved it since it
amazing,
came. But it also does come at a certain kind of cost, and not to be like a Debbie Downer all the time, but like you have to really see like what it does to the property value and to some of the people that live around there, and if they can actually be involved in some of the things that they have going on. Like these kids from the projects can't just walk into that school and go to that school, and it's literally directly right in front of them every single day. So what our job to do with Street Dreams as our agency and as a collective was to do it was like a 3 to 4 week course to teach the kids that were in the community center photography, editing, composition, and all the stuff that comes along with, you know, overall photography and editing processes, and from everything from that, go on photo walks with them, and, you know, teach them how to take portraits and all that really dope stuff. And from all the work and then we gifted them cameras that were in partnership with gifted them cameras that were in partnership with I forgot who it was at the time, but we were able to give them cameras so they were able to shoot. And then we did a gallery for them on the High Line. So all the photos were printed out. We had like these the setup was incredible. They got to see themselves on, like, some of them were in the documentary, so they got to see themselves aired in the documentary. We did like this full-on gallery. Like my parents are both in still good health. So, like, you know, it was like one of those just really magical times. And it's like, I hope it impacted the kids as much as impacted me. But, like, you know, that was something that was, I mean, I thought it was incredible to be able to have the opportunity to, you know, work in my community, and at the same time work on something that I actually feel is, you know, progressive, and it helps your mental, and really, you know, be able to, like, you know, pour my heart out to these kids. I'm like, nah, you really need to do this kind of shit. And even if you don't want to do it, at least understand how to communicate it. You know, it'll help you articulate and communicate things differently if you can even understand, you know, art and photography in a certain kind of way. So, like, you don't have to be the photographer, like, seriously, but, like, you know, it can really help you interpret things at the same time. So it was just a really dope thing, and we had a lot of powerful messages, and a lot of smart kids that were involved in the project, and it was on the High Line too, so they got to have that moment for themselves and to celebrate their work. And, like, that's not something where my photos were hanging up. Like, none of our photos are hanging up. It was like, this is all there, you know. There for me. So it was that was something that was really dope.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. And I have no doubt that it'll have an impact in one way or another. Like, a kid is going to remember the moment that just so you give them so many moments, right? You gave them, you showed them the process of it. You actually gave them something to take home that's tangible, that they're going to, even if it's in their room, they're gonna be like, oh, I got that thing that one time from that thing. And they might pick it up, and they might go out and have an impact on somebody else. And that's all you can hope for and ask for. And oh my God, that's amazing, man. That's amazing. I'm definitely going to check that out. Another, it reminded me of this other podcast too, that just came out, Nice White Parents. Check that one out. It's about a school, a couple of schools out in Brooklyn, similar vibe to the Chelsea thing. But my wife's a teacher, so we've been big on all that stuff, because it is super important. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to show up in a certain community, like, be a part of the fucking community.
Yeah, it's a mind-boggling concept to some people, but, like, you know, I'm not saying you have to be best friends with people, but, like, you know, like, when I go to my bodega, I was like, you know, I'm just like, yo, good morning, man, are you all right? You know, if you say good morning to somebody for 5 days in a row,
super simple,
build up with some rapport, so you're not a robot. Like, you're just not coming in with your headphones in and, like, just dropping the money and walking out the store. Like, it's like, I don't, everything is so transactional with some people that they forget there's a level of empathy towards building a community, dog. Like, why do I have to sound like Mother Teresa for, dog? Like,
for real.
Dude, I think this is simple shit. You know what I mean? Like,
just be a nice person, and like you said, have empathy. Just understand. It's tough because everyone has a lot going on, but you start to see that real growth when you are able to take a step back and be like, oh, okay, maybe that person's having a bad day. That's why they open the door crazy and all super pissed. Like, I don't need to get mad at them. Like, oh shit. Give them room, be like, cool, my bad. But seriously. But amazing, man. Amazing. So yeah, kind of want to talk a little bit more about really kind of jumping into your thoughts on kind of music and photography and what it is that you guys do. Street Dreams does an amazing job of blending those two things together, photography and music, especially in like, your latest digital issue you guys are dropping, you guys have mixes within that, and I'm sure you guys don't only go out and cover musical events, as part of like your job from time to time, but when you're editing stuff, I'm sure you're listening to music. And so that's, I can imagine that's why you guys threw that in some of the later issues. But yeah, why do you think that the marriage of music and photos is so important, both from a photographer standpoint, but also from, the artist standpoint, right? The artists, they need some ill photos of themselves, that they want to make sure that shit is looking good, but also tell a story too. So like, why do you think that marriage is so important?
I think, there's a lot of synergy that goes with music and photography that we never shied away from. For full context, this is a podcast and all that stuff. Podcast. I used to be in an orchestra, dude. Like I played the violin and the cello, like when I was like 12 to like in like pretty much all junior high school. I have experience playing the saxophone. And then Mike C was a DJ Mike C and Eric were both DJs for a long time. Like Mike C used to b-boy, you know what I mean, out in Vancouver, like this Filipino dude with glasses out there b-boying. I think it's just hilarious. But like all of us have been completely enamored with music all of our lives, you know what I mean? So it was even like, my start into the whole photography career and, it started through music, you know what I mean? So always just trying to find the right kind of footing. And working with the right people that, like I've always said, I work with you, I don't work for you, so finding that right synergy was always really important to us. So being able to work with partners like Vivo's been a huge part, a huge essential part to our music development, for our editorials, because of all the opportunities that we've been able to work with them on, working with Govball for the last 4 years or something like that. And they sent me to like Ohio for Rockin' the Range. I was like the only Black dude in the photo pit shooting Metallica, which is one of the illest moments of my life to this day.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
It was like they allowed for like not like setting us up with these just stereotypical situations all the time. They actually allowed us to be artists and be creative. So working with companies like that, and I'm not saying anybody's perfect, but I'm saying like it's been really it's been extremely instrumental in our careers and developing our music catalog. And then it really just evolved into when we came out with the streetdreams.co site and creating the digital space for that, finding ways that we can continue to show our love for music in the new COVID world. Like if it wasn't COVID right now, we've been like 3 years deep into Street Dreams radio parties already. We've been doing Street Dreams radio parties with our galleries for the last couple of years now. Just for some context with that, when we first started Street Dreams Mag, when we were doing our issue launches, we used to do everything in the same night. We used to have a gallery, we had a DJ, we had the pop-up shop, and then we used to get the biggest spaces that we can. Shout outs to Be Electric in Brooklyn, because we used to use that space all the time. We had some of the most legendary parties ever. I don't want to hype it up. I hate being that guy, but that's seriously. But at the same time, it was just so much, and it's hard to have people to properly, we want people to properly intake everything as well too. So we started to, break up our galleries to be like these 3-day weekends. So we've been doing like these 3-day weekends so we can have a day for the gallery, the day for the radio, for the DJ parties and the music shows, and the day for the pop-up. So when we've been doing that successfully for a while and been doing a lot of great events, but the fact that COVID happened and being able to really try to find something that was still really inspirational, but at the same time can still build out our footprint from something that we've been developing over the last couple of years. Starting Street Dreams Radio with the mixes with all of our 6 shows was a no-brainer for us. It was another space for us to communicate artistically our soundscape now, you know what I mean? So I'm able to, like, for my show Live at the Bodega, I'm able to work with some of my favorite producers like Jacob Rochester, who's a multidisciplined painter and beat maker, and also like typographist. I don't know what the typographer or whatever you want to call it. But Jacob is extremely talented, and it's cool to give, he doesn't need an extra platform, but it's cool to give a brother like him a platform so he can showcase some stuff. And that's the same thing with, Eric's show and Mike's show and Taima, and Taima's being from Montreal is really dope to have a Montreal influence into the mix. So we're really conscious of, having everybody in our community have different ways to tap in. So the radio was a really important part for not us just to focus on the parties, but also to bring it into another space as well too. So that fusion is important for us because music and photography goes hand in hand. Like, every time I love to shoot photos, like, I can listen from everything from like Conway to Benny the Butcher to like, Miles Davis and like, Minnie Riperton, it's a full range of emotions when you're taking photos. So we like to have that same kind of emotions going to the soundscape when we're developing, that we've been developing with Street Juice Radio.
I think that's a great way to put soundscape is such a great way to talk about it too, because it's just like whatever, from the artist standpoint, musical artist standpoint, it's like if you're whatever music you're making, it's like you're gonna need to put visuals to it in today's day and age. So what are you saying in your music? Is it a fast song? Is it a slow song? Is it a happy song? Is it a sad song? Like, how are all these things going to come to life? So yeah, man, that's amazing. The other thing too, you guys are on the front lines of really, of storytelling, on a day-to-day basis with what you guys do with the agency. And I think we're at a point in the world where there's a lot of people that are dealing with a lot of hardships, and we're kind of, sick of just looking at good photos on Instagram. You know what I mean? Like we need a good story to go with it. Like the image is great, and kind of that era of the influencer is almost dead, right? Because it's like, hey, great picture. It's like, oh, cool. We know that you don't really do shit, but you just take nice pictures and you're just like sporting a watch or a fucking whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? You're driving in a car that you don't own type of shit. So, there needs to be a story that goes with it. So how important is storytelling to you? And, what are your thoughts around kind of the, the end of the influencer era and kind of the rise, or not even the rise, more just highlighting of the curator era. I think it's going back to, and you guys have been doing that for a minute too. So curious your thoughts on that.
It's interesting to hear it articulated like that, actually, because I haven't even, that's probably going to be the new buzzword in the next 3 months. It's always going to be a new buzzword, and they should owe you 10% for that.
Oh, well, no, I can't take claim. No. I can't take claim for all that. Yeah. There's an amazing strategist that I follow, and she talks a lot about that stuff, and I was just like, yeah, man, that whole shit is like it's kind of going back to the curator. The curator's kind of always been there. 70s, 80s, you always had that dude who was cool in the city.
It's always been there, and I think that to the point, and honestly, if you ever have a chance to send me that, I would love to check that out, because it is a really dope point to bring up, and like it. And I feel kind of conflicted. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say like this is the end of the influencer era, but I will say that like I feel like this last decade or so has been the age of the smart consumer. And I think that all these kind of trends that kind of pop up here and there, they're trends, they have an expiration date. So the influencer bag will still be there because there's going to be these easy money situations sometimes that people will always gravitate to. But I will have to actually eject this from one of my OGs, Peter B. He told us a long time ago at a dinner in LA, maybe like 5-6 years ago, he says, always, the smart money is always watching you. So like, there's going to be these situations where there's going to be like these easy kind of situations where somebody's going to give you the most blandest story or the most blandest narrative. They'd be like, oh yeah, this is a copy and paste situation. You're a black creative dude. You seem like you would say something like this. Just post this and then call it a day. I've never, ever, ever, ever even, I can't even fathom doing something like that. That's like pretty much against everything that I'm about. And at the same time, this is why I'm in the position I am in today, of being like, I would hate to say that word, call myself that, but being in a curator position really, doing the due diligence and understanding my reference points and the substance and the places that I'm coming from. So it seems so simple, but it's so well thought out that I'm having the most easiest way to the most simple way to have to communicate a dialogue and a narrative that empowers Black people, but at the same time is not offending white folks. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like, I think that is really important because I think that everybody has a different place in that kind of conversation. And I feel like I've been very adamant into obviously denouncing the things that I'm completely disgusted with, but at the same time, like I'm not on a mission to, either being on like just trying to make the most money as possible, or at the same time just trying to step on everybody's toes and not have progressive conversations. Like, right. No, I want this shit to work, and I'm here to do the work. So all of my narratives and everything that I do within, whether it's through Street Dreams or individually, all have that cadence to it. And I think that integrity is something that you can't put a metric to. And then I think that's going to be something that always stands the test of time. It's like, that's why Jay-Z, you can listen to Jay-Z 20 years from now, because he's not saying anything that's, out of the ordinary. He's speaking truth. He's speaking facts all the time. And then that's why that music will always be timeless.
Yeah, man. He's talking about a very specific moment, and people like him and people like you that are like, there is substance to this, and I am going to take it a bit deeper, and I am going to make sure that this is real, and this is, a rich story that means something to me. And it can be a funny, quick, light story, or it could be super deep. The thing is, it's honest and it's real. And yeah, that's where that curation piece comes in, because it's not like taking the easy, quick money just because they're like, hey, post this dumb shit. You know what I mean? Like that worked for a certain person for a certain amount of time, and it's just not going to work any longer because, like you said, we are smarter now. We've had this for a long enough time where we're like, oh no, you're full of shit. You're just posting that because somebody paid you that money. Like, you don't really believe in the thing that you're posting, man. Come on. And while there may be a small percentage of one's followers that still don't understand that, the majority of people are going to move on. And so hopefully those people, because just like you said, like, I don't want to be demonstrative towards those people. It's like, hopefully they evolve and understand, okay, we got to switch shit up. And I think that goes the same for any influencer, for any musician, for any photographer. It's like you if you're really in it and you understand that you're here to do the work for the long road, that means sometimes shit isn't going to go your way, and you're going to have to pivot, and you're going to have to figure out how you can add value to people's lives. Because when you do that, that gets reciprocated. People show you love, and I'm sure you've seen that tenfold with the work that you guys have done over the years. It's just and when that happens, and it is reciprocated, sometimes it's monetary, right? And it allows you to live your life. And sometimes it's, just for your fucking good mental health and well-being, and keeps you going to get to your next thing. And you're it's much more of a spiritual type of thing. And keeps you going. And so that's amazing. But yeah, well said. Curious, couple quick hitters here, getting a little tactical, kind of inside your head for a second. What's your process when it comes to getting yourself kind of ready and inspired for a shoot? Do you do a lot of lead up? Like, okay, cool. I mean, sometimes you don't always have the luxury of doing that, but when you can, do you say, all right, I know I'm going to go shoot this in 2 or 3 weeks? I kind of mentally prepare. And if so, like, is there anything specifically that you do?
I try to get as much, with only that comes with experience. I try to get as much time as I can, and it's not like I'm writing notes, but like I'm a really big mental dude. Like, shout outs to Kobe all day, RIP. But like, that Mamba mentality shit is real with me, because I really get in my head, and I like to have like almost like a nonchalant cadence. And people who probably don't know me, they don't think that I'm thinking about anything. But at the same time, I'm going deep. I'm deep diving into like my borderline photographic memory of like pulling out all these things I really want to refer to find like the easiest hard-hitting ways to connect on these projects. Being able to have the duality to work with commercial brands and at the same time do a lot of photojournalist street photography work, it allows me to understand how I really want to communicate these things. So I like to not like I'm not necessarily looking at a mood board. I'm not saying I hate mood boards, but I genuinely don't gravitate towards them. I just really just try to focus as much as I can on like what message I'm trying to communicate, and listening to a lot of music. Honestly, going into like watching a couple of shows here and there that I probably am a fan of at that time. All that kind of stuff really, all that kind of stuff really helps it in the long run with me trying to develop an image and really get it shaken with something like that. So, it's like, yeah, just it's the interesting balance of just having a really sharp mental, listening to some really damn good music, and if there's a really good show with like cinematography that my brain is picking up, that's giving me like a lot of like positive positive feedback, it helps me go into these shoots. And I'm still nervous. Like every time I shoot something, I'm not gonna act like I'm not nervous. Like I remember, like it's probably TMI, but when I went to go shoot Derrick Rose, like dude, my stomach was killing me, dude. Like but then when he finally pulled up and he sat down and he realized that like there was too many heaters around in the gym. He said, man, there's too many heaters. Like, can you like move some of these around? I was like, all right, dope. Like, we're gonna have like a normal shoot, and he's mad chill, and like it was like chilling with one of the homies. And those situations happen with me literally 99.9% of the time every time I'm on the shoot. So
yeah. Got you. Yeah, man, that's well put. It's really just trying to absorb the shit that you're going through and as best you can, so you can always reference them and tap into the shit. Like, okay, it's time for this, it's time for that, and yeah, it's always good to stay on your toes. Like you said, with Derrick shit, it's like you've been doing it for close to a decade now, but you still get nervous. Like, I think I'm sure that's what also fuels you to like be sharp and be on point and come 100%. Correct and like do your best fucking
makes you
work.
Feel alive. I don't take nervousness as I'm gonna mess up. I take nervousness as like, oh man, like I actually really care for this. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like I'm gonna do it right.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool, man. Want to talk about Instagram real quick. You've been able to develop a really big following over the last several years. Curious your thoughts on some tactics, tips for artists looking to grow their Instagram following in today's world. Obviously, this is an ever-changing thing, but just throwing a quick example at you. Take like an up-and-coming rapper, 2,500 followers. How does he get to 5,000? How does he get to 10,000? How does he get to 20,000 followers? Leveraging what he has and what other people are doing as well.
I think it's really important for any creative, or no matter what discipline you're in, to really understand what you are, who you are as an individual, and understanding how you want to communicate that to the world. Like, this is the day and age of how niche you are, because everybody knows everything. So you really need to know, say if you're really into socks, like you really need to know everything about socks, like, and if you really want to be into that, like if you want to make a bunch of rap songs about socks, the next game is consistency. The more consistent that you do something, and then the more that you understand about your own individual niches that you're into, it allows other people to look for you to be like a source of something. So whether it's like, people are familiar with me for like writing captions that had nothing to do with the photo, but they more or less had to do with my life. If I were to write a caption that had to do with the photo, people would ask me like, are you okay? Like, what's going on? You know what I mean? It's because I've built that level of trust with my audience, and also with myself, and understanding like what I'm trying to like communicate. So I say that to everyone, like, it's sometimes like, it's not as simple as taking the photos of an apple every single day. But if you were to do that, it would probably look tight after a while, because you built a level of consistency to something that somebody can actually look at and then be into, So it's like the easiest way to put it is like be into all the little nerdy things that you really actually love, and find the best ways to communicate them, and fill the voids for humanity. You know what I mean? Like, if there's a million Joe Rogans, you don't have to be the next one. Find what makes you find what gravitates you towards people, or what people gravitate towards you about. So it's like it's an interesting game of finding yourself, but I think that it sounds really simple and it's stupid, but I really think finding yourself is half the battle for that.
Yeah, man, wholeheartedly. It's like, once you stop thinking about the numbers and thinking about who you are and how you can add value to someone else's life, add value to the conversation.
Yeah.
At the very least, that's when things start to turn for you. And all the other stuff is just like simple hacks where it's, pictures this way at this time, blah, blah, blah. Anybody can just go and look that up. But the real meat is like what the long-term sustainable stuff is. What are you saying?
Yeah.
Why does this matter? Why should I pay attention? So yeah, man. Couple others here before we get out of here. Any new trends? I know this is a super vague question, but any new trends in photography that you really love or really coming out? I know you're doing a lot of black and white photos as of late. Anything else that's really coming out, whether it's like the subject or the style or anything that stands out?
I think it kind of died down a little bit, but for a while, everybody was really obsessed with the FaceTime photo shoot. That became a thing for like a solid 3 months. And I don't know if it's a thing or not anymore. I'm pretty sure some people are doing it here and there, but that was definitely a wave for a while that people were into. I thought it was really interesting, actually. Like, I'm not as negative as some of the other photographers' thoughts on it. I think that it's always cool to see people just trying to
fuck with something different.
Around, dude. Like, people just fucking around, dude. Like, I'm not gonna be busting people's balls all the time for them trying things out. I think another trend right now, not a trend, but more or less like a ever growing, I guess like almost like love for it is like just the love of film photography again. I see a lot of people taking film photography a lot more serious, whether it's 35 millimeter or people shooting 120 rolls. I think people are, a lot of photographers or even starters are really getting more into film, and I love it. At the same time, I just hope that people are really just doing their homework, just with anything else. Like, if you're actually going to be a film nerd, then like learn the basics about it, so it just doesn't go past with, it just doesn't go like far as like you just using a point and shoot just because like it's the cool thing to do. But at the same time, definitely encourage with everybody using it, because at the same time it is the analog and like the OG way to do it. So it's really dope to see people are tapping into that.
Cool, man. Cool. Want to get you out of here on kind of the little plug segment. Yeah, man, what are you working on that you're excited about? Where can people contact you? And then lastly, my Jesus Amaro question, what would the name of your personal playlist be?
Oh shit! All right, so what are we working on right now? All right. So there's a couple of things that we're working on. My phone is people blowing my shit up. So what we need to do is first, we just finished the new version of the website streetdreams.co version 2.0. So really excited for that. We have been putting a lot of work into that. We have a bunch of incredible artists and photographers and all the music that we've been dropping on there. So we've just been having a nice, really eclectic, just like a little art journal going on over there. So people definitely check that out, because we're definitely going to be doing more updates with that. I'm coming out with a three-part book series called How You Holding Up, which is a visual essay of like 2020. So the first part of the book is going to be about like the coronavirus first hitting and like how everyone is interpreting self-love at the time. The second book is going to be about the protests and like the tension and the unity. And the third book is going to be about the aftermath. So dropping that three book series, hopefully by the end of September, early October. We're working on issue 16 for Street Dreams. So that's going to be a really big deal. This is the only issue that we're dropping this year, but we're planning on expanding the issue to make it big as possible with all the crazy shit that's been going on.
Yeah.
And we're working on dropping, I don't know if I can talk about this all the way yet, but we're dropping a really dope clothing collab with one of my favorite brands, Daily Paper. And hopefully we could drop that sometime soon, but I know that we're going to be hoping to drop it by February. So
nice. Very cool. And where can people get at you, and name of your playlist, man?
All right, so you can hit me up at Steve Sweatpants, I'm spelling all that, Steve Sweatpants. And then the gang is Street Dreams Mag, so you can find us at Street Dreams Mag. Please check out our website always, streetdreams.co, and check out Street Dreams Radio that we have on the website and also on Mixcloud. what will my playlist be? Then what would the name of the playlist be? Shit. And I thought about something that was fire yesterday, but it slipped. But no, it came back to me. It came back to me. Tell Poppy, don't fuck up my frontal leaf. That's the only thing.
Oh shit, man! I love it, man. I love it.
Keep it as real as possible.
Yeah, man. That goes along with your image captions too. So
yes.
Right on point. Word, man. Well, hey, appreciate the time again, man. Just thought of this though. You did inspire me. I'm gonna start a new photography segment right now. So I'm gonna be dropping this video too. This episode will drop in the next couple of weeks, but I'm going to start to release some of the clips of the videos as well on building out a YouTube page and whatnot. But you just inspired me to try out some new shit when you were talking about the FaceTime photo shoots. I want to start doing some Zoom photo shoots right now. So I'm gonna do a screenshot. Just throw out I'm gonna do this episode by episode. Let's get a little piece going. Let's see what I got here. All right, I gotta pull this before I hit snap. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Perfect, man. Perfect. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for the inspiration, man. I was like, oh shit, FaceTime. I got a little FaceTime action going on right now. Let me
see. The vibe. I mean, this is all the photos are timeless. Every photo counts, dude.
Yeah, man, for real. Again, really appreciate your time. We were only trying to do a half hour. I love that we went way over that, and we're just talking about stuff that matters. And again, man, can't thank you enough for not only the ill pictures over the years. Like I said, I've been a fan first and foremost. So thanks for that, and then thanks for coming on and showing love.
I'll have to send you a magazine or some shit or a fucking high.
For sure, man. For sure.
Thanks for having me on. And shout out to Pierre, Carl.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. P, appreciate it. All right, man. We'll definitely talk soon.
All right. Peace, Joe.
All right, bro. Peace.